Ahoy folks, and welcome back to Broadside Gaming with me, Zug. So I'm back from my little break, as you may have seen by all of the random kitten videos. They were awesome, I know. But today, as you can see, we're back in Darktide, and we're taking a look at the Zealot. And this is a build I've been having a lot of fun with before I went away, and since I come back, it's just a really nice reminder of what the Zealot was like before the Keystone updates. And this build is super simple, but very, very effective. So let's jump in and have a look. Okay, the game is going to work. Good. So, as you can see, we're using the KDR Mark 13G Assault Chainsword and the Auto Pistol. And I know what you're thinking, yes, the Auto Pistol was nerfed, but with this build, it doesn't feel like that at all. Let's talk about the Chainsword first. So, this chainsword is absolutely amazing. It's incredibly fast, and it can deal with basically anything in the game. The only things you're going to have problems with are going to be crushers and chaos spawns. And that's just because it's just heavy armor. You're not going to have much problem with them, but they're a little bit annoying, as I'll show you. Way to deal with them. Rev it up. Heavy attack. Should only take 2 swings. This build is going to be a lot more effective than you're seeing here because most of it is passive and reactionary. As you can see, we're stacking up the Inexorable Judgement, but it doesn't work quite as well in the arena thing here because we're not being attacked or dodging or any of that stuff. But anyway, so for the chainsword, the way you're going to want to set it up is basically how it is here. You want to prioritize damage, penetration, and finesse, and then shredder and mobility. Mobility is always going to be a dump stat, so don't worry if that's a little bit low. Because we have a huge amount of movement speed and dodge on this build, we can afford to dump out some mobility. For your perks, I've gone with flak armor and melee damage for elites, but you can change that to flak and crit if you want to. I just prefer having the flat damage to all elites. It's just a nice little buff. And blessings wise, shred and bloodletter. Now, Bloodletter is going to be a big part of this build because our special attack is going to do huge amounts of bleed damage, and that's how we're going to be dealing with basically anything Rager or above. And Shred is just incredibly powerful because the amount of crit it can stack up. And as for the Shredder Pistol, this is how we're going to build it with Flak and Maniac and Blaze Away and Inspiring Barrage. You can drop Inspiring Barrage for pinning fire. I think I've got it on another one that I can show you. Yeah, there is. If you just want more damage, but I am mostly running Auric and Damnation, so I like having Inspiring Barrage just for that little bit of safety. But you can build it however you want. So, pinning fire along with Blaze Away, or Blaze Away and Inspiring Barrage. And again, mobility can be your dump stat, so just get it at the damage, stopping power, and collateral as high as you can, and then prioritize the ammo, then mobility. And for the curios, we are running 2 max health with damage resistance, gunners, snipers, and stamina resistance on 1, and then max health with gunner resist, max health, toughness, and 1 toughness with the same as the other, with max toughness, max health, and gunner resist. If you're worried about snipers, you can remove the max health of both of these and just put sniper resistance on. But I find generally you don't need 3. Because most of the time you should be getting to the point where you're aware of where they are and just being able to dodge between the shots. The only time you're going to get caught is during a massive melee and if you're pinned. But, you know, you've got more problems at that point. Right, let's take a look at the stats. Talents. God damn it. Holidays ruined me. So, going down the middle here for Anointed in Blood, up to 25% base range damage, reduce the further you are away from targets. This is going to help with make the auto pistol an absolute beast again. And Purge the Unclean for increased damage against Infested and Unyielding. This is going to help us with a lot of boss damage and elite damage. And then we're going to jump over here to the right for Disdain, going into enemies in, enemies without. Bleed for the Emperor. It's a really nice passive that's going to help keep you alive. Stun Storm Grenade, and this is to basically help for clutch moments. So someone's gone down, big pack of maulers, crushers, whatever. You chuck one of these at the feet, and you either deal with them or you get them up. But what's nice is you get 3 of these. And there's quite a big radius on them, as you can see. But they're incredibly good for helping just in really tight situations. These are going to be your get out of sticky situation free cards. Okay, and let's jump back into here. We're going to grab this entire line, grabbing Dance of Death, minus 75% spread and 50% recoil for 3 seconds on successful dodge. This build is so fast paced, you're dodging all of the time. Everything about this build is back end, so you're not having to do very much to gain all of these buffs. You're not having to actively do anything apart from sprint and dodge. That's it. And then thy wrath be swift, and enemy melee attacks cannot stun you on taking damage. You gain 15% movement speed. Again, it's going to help us with a lot of survivability. And then over here, this is going to be the biggest survivability bump in this entire tree. So we're grabbing Duelist, 50% weak spot and critical hit damage for 3 seconds on successful dodge. Again, dodging is a massive part of this build. It's the only active thing you really have to do. And Until Death, fatal damage is said grants you invulnerability for 5 seconds, occurs once every 2 minutes. And then Holy Revenant, when Until Death ends, you gain health based on the damage you dealt during Until Death. To a maximum of 25% max health, melee damage dealt heals for 3 times this amount. That doesn't mean that it heals for 75% max health, it just means 25% max health is the limit that you can get, but doing melee gets you there faster. It doesn't stack up higher, which is sad. This thing used to be absolutely amazing. You could fully heal yourself back in the day. But, you know, they nerfed it. It's still really good, but just not as good as it was. Then Benediction, 15% toughness damage reduction for you and your allies' coherency. God damn, I keep yawning, sorry. And then we're going to be grabbing Fury of the Faithful. Dash forward, replenishing 50% toughness and gaining 20% attack speed for 10 seconds. Your next melee hit gains 25% damage and is a guaranteed critical hit. And then we're grabbing Redoubled Zeal, so you've got 2 of these. This is going to be your go-to when you're launching yourself towards crushers or maulers. You see there? You just sprint, rev yourself up, and launch yourself at it, and that's going to be how you're going to be dealing with most hard targets. Everything else is pretty easy to deal with.
Will endure, they say.
As you can see, Bulwarks and Reapers aren't going to be a problem because they're very fleshy. Just get behind them, hack them to pieces. Alright, let's jump back into the talent tree. And from here, we're grabbing Suppression Boost. Don't really want it, but it's on the way. Toughness damage reduction, melee damage, Sustained Assault, 4% melee damage for 5 seconds on hitting an enemy with a melee attack, stacks 5 times. This is going to be permanently running. So again, this is not something you have to actively think about. It is just inbuilt. And then we're coming down here to grab Swift Certainty. Increase sprint speed by 10%. In addition, always count as dodging while sprinting, even if stamina is depleted. This is really, really good. Because as we're using Inexorable Judgement, we are sprinting continuously, so we are always counting as dodging, even with no stamina. So, super fast, very dodgy. But as I said, can't actually get half of it to work in here because we're not being attacked, so it doesn't count as dodging. I will do a playthrough video so you guys can see it in action, but just, you know, we're not getting the most out of it here. And then we're grabbing Pious Cutthroat. Backstabs restore 20% ability cooldown. With how fast we are, we're going to be backstabbing a lot, so this is just going to help us get more out of Fury of the Faithful. Then Inexorable Judgement. Moving grants you momentum, stacks 15. You hit an enemy, spend all your momentum. God damn it, I'm really sorry guys. I'll just keep yawning, irritating the hell out of me. When you hit an enemy, spend all momentum stacks, gaining 1% melee attack speed, 1% range attack speed, and 1% damage per stack. So this is also going to really help out the Shredder pistol because it increases its fire rate by 15% at max. So as you can see, it turns into an absolute bullet hose again, just like it used to be. It's not quite as ridiculously powerful as it used to be, but it is still very, very, very good. And it's a fun little gun to play with. And then, of course, Retributor's stance. And Inebriate's Poise. Gain 3 stacks of momentum on a successful dodge. We're dodging all the time, so that's going to help us stack up. And replenish 2% toughness for each spent stack of momentum. That just makes it better. Right, so I'm going to show you a few other little bits you can do with this build. If you're not a massive fan of the Shredder Auto Pistol, I would highly suggest using the Agrippina Mark 8 Braced Auto Gun. You won't be as fast using this, and you won't be able to stack up the toughness with Inspiring Barrage, but it is a very, very good gun. It does a hell of a lot of damage, and will happily shred anything up to a Crusher. You're not going to be doing much to a Crusher with this, but that's not how you're going to deal with them. Still, Reapers and Bulwarks can be quite handily dealt with. The only thing with this is it does slow you down a lot more, so it may break the pace of the build when you switch out to it. So that's the only kind of trade-off. Now, for stims, if you're dealing with a monstrosity, pick up the combat stim. The other 99% of the match, a med stim should be living in your stim slot. Grab one and use it in emergencies. I cannot express how important it is to keep one of these at all times on a Zealot. They should always live with you. Though, to be honest, they live with me on every single character. I only ever grab one of these if we're dealing with a monstrosity and there's one sitting there. But there you go. A very, very high-powered, very easy to use Zealot build. And if you were a big fan of the Zealot before the patch, this should give you that feeling again. Just be warned, the only things that are really going to mess with you, as I said, are going to be Crushers and Chaos Spawns. Everything else is just annoying. Like the Beast of Nurgle and the Plague Ogren, is the only annoying thing about that is the area denial that they have around them. Just try and get behind it, be sensible with your movement, and just go at it like you would anything else. But very, very importantly, and I will reiterate this one more time, with this, Bloodletter is one of the biggest parts of your arsenal in this. You have no other way of applying bleed other than Bloodletter, because we are not taking anything from the right side of the tree here. It's completely left side. So to apply those bleeds, you have to be using your shred actively. It is very strong, and it should only take you a couple of matches to get the feel for how often you should be using it, which is all the time. I mean, not on all things. Anything you can take down in 1 or 2 swings, don't bother. But I would say anything from Rages and up, you want to consider using it on them. Maulers definitely, Crushers definitely, Rages 50-50. But there you go. Very fun build. I've been using it quite a lot, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, please do like, subscribe, ring that bell for notification. It really does help us out, and I shall see you all for the next one, which will hopefully be just some gameplay and talking about the build a bit more in depth while we're playing. So until then, take it easy and see you later.